Hi, how are you doing today? My name is Zach Norch, and today we will be looking at the layout I have for a men's fashion company that we will be developing for outsourcing. Also, it will be a born global company, so we're not only focusing on US manufacturing or marketing, but we're also looking at European countries and Asian countries, particularly China and Japan. So first, we will look at what we are actually producing. We are going to look into men's fashion, high-end clothing, shoes, ties, sports jackets, suits, things like that. We're trying to go above and beyond with the level of quality, um, and just really make a very unique product based on its design and the material used, as well as the people who put them together. These will all be custom designed, custom fitted, everything like that for the customer. So where are we going to manufacture this product? There are really three main areas that we were looking at for manufacturing. The first was Thailand. Thailand is a major textile manufacturer and outsourcing center for a lot of different companies. The problem with Thailand is that while it does have an access to the Asian market, it does not have a great distinction with the European market as well. There are tariffs and things like that that you're going to have to handle whenever you're going over to that European market. Along with that, you're seeing a lot of tariffs being placed from the U.S. right now on all countries. So we kind of put that one on the back burner, and we looked at China. Well, China is great as well. It has a lot of the similar issues that Thailand has. It is one of the largest manufacturers, actually is the largest manufacturer in the world for textiles. But that being said, the U.S. has just put another tax onto China, which has caused more of their factories to move out into other areas, mostly within the Asian region, but they are moving away. They're still the largest manufacturer, but it's not a great place for a new business to start up. So then we look down at Turkey. Turkey's actually the one we selected. The reason is because it's within the European Union. It is the largest textile manufacturer in Europe, and the level of wages is much lower than a lot of other places. So what this does is it allows you to trade not only your product but the material to produce your product much more efficiently, much easier, with much less excuse me, with much less capital needed. Along with this, it gives you a good opportunity as a company to potentially try to change the wages there while still maintaining a lower cost than if you were to, say, manufacture in the United States. So we're looking at the benefits of Turkey, which we kind of already discussed. The first one is low wages. Obviously, like we said, the wages for textile workers are very low. The problem is they're a little too low. They're actually below a living wage within that country. So our goal is actually to up that wage and make a better quality of life for textile workers. That'll be discussed more later. Again, operates well with trade in Europe. That's bringing in materials and exporting our products. They are the largest textile manufacturer in Europe, which is obviously a great situation for us. And then the government actually is supporting a lot of new businesses coming in. The regulations and things like that are really pushing towards their industrial revolution that they're having right now. So they want to bring in more companies. They want to help companies start up, and they want them to be successful. So now, some concerns with Turkey are the government. While it does have some good policies bringing in some new companies and things like that, there is a lot of government corruption in the system. You can see this with more of a correlation between larger businesses, mainly in construction and steel production, wherever policies have kind of helped them out more, just so that they can be benefited based off their influence in the government. They have created a large deficit of $200 billion that they have been attempting to pay back. Unfortunately, they only have about $85 billion to actually work with in that situation. The only way they've really been able to maintain their status is from lending of banks and because of their industrial revolution that's allowing the import and export of their materials. Unfortunately, because it is a European country, the tariffs placed on them and the tariffs they can gain capital off of are very limited in that region wherever they sell most of their equipment. That being said, it does benefit companies a lot, and so it benefits them by allowing these companies to be there that they can obviously tax. Another problem is the United States just placed a large tax on their steel production. This has really hurt the value of the dollar in Turkey, which has now dropped 17%. So their currency is kind of on the verge of really taking a large hit at this point. They don't sell a ton in the US, but they do sell about 25%. The other 75% is in European nations, so it does affect the industry. Granted, not too much, but it does make a problem for the companies. Direct threats to the company. This is a very competitive market without a doubt. You have companies such as Valentino, Givenchy, companies like that that have established themselves, established a customer base, has established a brand name, and so to come into that brand new, it's very difficult. You really are going to have to establish yourself with something unique designs, unique customer service, unique material, things like that to separate yourself. Just the developmental process in itself is going to require a lot of capital. The development of the designs, the development of these things, it's going to require a lot of time, bringing in the right people, ensuring that as it is a born global company that you are culturally sensitive to the areas you are working in, things like that. So that all being said, there's a lot of benefits to starting in Turkey, to potentially making this company a great company. The problem is obviously just a lot of things that are associated with the upbringing of it, and obviously what we discussed with the government a minute ago. Opportunities to the company. Nobody in this industry has really been able to necessarily establish their dominance. You've seen something with like Nike, wherever they've been able to really separate themselves from their competitors. While their competitors still do very well for themselves, they don't nearly compete with what level Nike is doing. Nobody's been able to do that. Like I said, there are a few really good companies that have been able to establish themselves just named or based off brands, but they're all very close in their revenue. Another opportunity for this is, since we are beginning in Europe, we are beginning in the fashion capital of the world. That means places like Paris, Barcelona, London, places where a lot of people from all over the world come and just want to get a sense of the culture and get a sense of the fashion industry. So starting in those areas by establishing a brand name is a great place to begin. Business goals. Okay, so as we kind of already discussed, we have the goal of expanding throughout the world. So we want to be born global. That's our first initiative. Understand that in 5 to 10 years, we want to move out of the European region and move into the more Asian and North America regions. First, we must establish in Europe, obviously. And the brand name, that's the biggest thing, is being in this epicenter of fashion. We want to be able to say, hey, our clothing is a step above. Our clothing is something really unique, and that people around the world look at as, wow, that guy's really prestigious, that guy's really wealthy, that guy has status because of our clothing. Another thing we want to do as far as cross-cultural goals, there's a few things. First off, we want to affect Turkey positively. As we mentioned, textile workers receive a very low wage. Our plan is to initially up that wage, not only for the benefit of the economy, but also for the benefit of the company. Whenever we do that and we put that in place, that encourages the better employees to come over and say, hey, I want something better for myself. And so that gives us a lot of opportunity to bring the right people in from the beginning. Along with this increase in wage, we want to give them some sort of healthcare package and retirement plan package so that they can save and be ready for their future. You know, it's a very common thing in the United States, but over there not so much, and we'd really like that for them. Another thing for us is, obviously we're going to be moving into different cultures. And while the European nations are generally pretty good at integrating with themselves, you still want to make sure that with something as detailed as this, that you are very sensitive to all the cultural preferences out there, how you communicate with somebody, how you deal with somebody, everything like that. It's very, very important. So we want to bring people in who have been successful with other companies that produce the same type of product, and we want them to run our stores whenever we start moving into Milan, Barcelona, places like that, so that we can start out with connections and with a good business plan from the beginning, rather than having to build that up in another way. So now we're kind of looking at how we're going to build up entirely. First off is factory development. The most important thing here is find a place that fits our budget and is close enough to the working population. That's going to be very important. Obviously, this is going to require significant capital, making sure that we're either renovating an old space or building a new space. So that's kind of the basis there. But at the same time, we'd also really like to integrate ourselves with the government, with the other construction companies and things like that that have become so popular there. Because once you integrate with those guys, because of the government corruption, basically, you're able to kind of work in that area, and not only is that beneficial for your company, but you also have the ability to influence them a little bit and maybe make some policy changes that are better for the labor force. So employees, as we've already stated for our factory workers, we're going to give them basically try to change the way they live, and also up the standard for the region as a whole. That's a big deal for us. But once we bring these employees in, we're going to send them through an extensive training program. We want them to know exactly what we want as far as how to make these clothes, as far as how to put them together, what the standard is, everything like that. We need our customers to be thrilled with the product we give them, and so it's important that they have everything done the right way. As for our tailors and our managers are going to be a big part of how we operate our stores in all these different cities and everything like that. But they're still going to have to go through training to understand the goals of the company, and then that manager, along with a representative of the company and its morals and its ideals, need to get together, establish the best plan to get that together. Our tailors need to be trained to make sure that they have exactly what they need and exactly the idea of how they communicate with the customer in their environment to be ready to go at the highest level, making sure that the customer, again, is completely satisfied with their experience, from the product to simply being able to enjoy their experience. So now we're going to look at our stores, our outlets. Again, our managers are going to have a very big part to play in this. The design, the approach, how the culture around them sees wealth and prestige. That's all going to be very important. So they're going to come in, they're going to play a big part in setting that up, designing it the right way, making sure their employees are the right ones, and making sure they know how to integrate it into the community, either with fashion shows, either with celebrity endorsements, either with just simply publishing to other managers within the community to be like, hey, we have this brand, we have this product, why don't you come over and enjoy it? So then we have our transport. This is more down the road. This is obviously not the first thing we're going to look at, but initially we'd like to just outsource a trucking company. That'll be very ideal. There are many trucking companies in the industry that do this, especially in this area, because of how big Turkey is in textile production. With that all being said, with all of that being said, eventually, once we move out of Europe, we're planning on going into more of an air source of shipping. We've thought about going by water. The problem is that because this is such a service-related industry, along with the product, we want it to get there as quickly as possible. In order for that to happen, we believe flight is the best way. So, now, like we said, we really want to change the region. And so, how are we going to do that? By upping our standard of how we treat our employees, by upping the wages, by upping the working standards. I mean, just the safeties of the factories and things like that. Treatment, encouragement, things like that. It's really going to require, once we're able to do that, it's going to change really the outline of that society. We're hoping that whenever we're taking these better employees and things like that, other companies say, hey, look what they're doing. We're going to have to match that in order to keep the right people here. And hopefully overall, that'll up everybody's life, instead of just the industrialization really helping the wealthy and things like that, because the laborers are really the ones who put so much effort in to make everything go round. Again, we were talking about doing the meeting with international leaders and everything like that. That's again for the business, but we wanna change the economy there. We want the basic, we want the general working class to feel like they are needed and appreciated and everything like that, not just taken advantage of. And so we'd like to be able to have a say in, hey, we're gonna change this for the better. Even if that hurts our pocketbooks a little bit. With a company like this, you're looking at making so much profit eventually that although maybe you start out a little bit lower wages, you want everybody to reach that stage of success. And that includes yourselves and that includes your employees, because if your employees are happy, they're going to stay with you. As for cultural issues, again, there's just so much difficulty in switching from culture to culture, especially whenever we look at moving from the European nations to the Asian nations and things like that. I mean, you saw such a difficulty just with Baidu and Google, whenever Google tried integrating into the Chinese culture. So difficult. But it's going to require, again, bringing the right managers in to say, hey, this is what our economy needs in order to look at this product and see it in a positive light. And it might take bringing in people who are consultants that are expensive and things like that, but in order to approach the economy right, as soon as you get there, that's what needs to be done. And so understanding how you're going to communicate with a customer, understanding the language that needs to be available for that customer. You can't expect Chinese to be the second language if you're working in China. That needs to be the first language. You can't expect people to adapt to those sorts of things. They want to be comfortable, they want to love their experience, and that's exactly what we're trying to give them through this process. So again, I mean, we've pretty much already covered a lot of this, but cultural variations. Europe maintains close relationships with one another. Of course, that's true. They have the union, and they stick together so closely, integrate so closely. You look at the state of Texas, and it covers multiple countries in that same frame within Europe. So they're very close together. They're very familiar with working with one another and things like that. But that all being said, we still, again, want to make sure we're approaching every single situation the right way. This is a detail-oriented business. The details are what's going to make the difference for you, and that's what we're going to try to be the best in. So I'm going to cover everything we talked about a little bit. First off, this is a company that we want to begin in Europe. Make sure it's a born global company. Understand that 5 years to a decade, we are going to be in these other countries. We're going to be in the US, we're going to be in Japan, we're going to be in China, those things. That's our goal. In order to get there, we're going to have to establish our factory in Turkey. That'll help us a lot with the beginning portions of our company, making sure our tariffs are low, making sure our costs are low, and getting things started throughout the European nations. Our stores, we want them to be designed, we want them to be the proper appeal to our customers, and make sure that they are very comfortable, they feel very good about our designs, they feel very good about our quality of product, and they feel prestigious and wealthy, and like everybody's looking at them as soon as they walk into the room. That's what we want our product to do. As far as the designs, again, there's a lot of companies who do this already. So our designs have to be something that are very classy, elegant, but at the same time not too over the top to say, hey, that's not something I would ever wear. We want it to be something that people really enjoy, and to do that, we're going to have to bring in fashion designers who really understand their specific region. And again, with the European nations, there's more of a continuous flow as far as design, as far as style, but we really want to make sure we get it right. So there may be certain cultural aspects that we look into with each design that we market in a certain area, maybe something special for a certain area. And finally, other than obviously the success of the company, we really want to make a difference in economies. We want to make a difference in the Turkish economy. We want to bring cash flow there. We want to up the level that workers are living there and how they're being treated there. That's very important to us. So, and along with that, we want to be integrated in all communities. We want to be integrated in every community that our stores are in, making sure that the lifestyle of our employees of the region is up to par with what we think everybody should be living at. So that is the layout of my company. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and have a great rest of the semester. Thank you.